Coming up on BG24 Sports, it's the MAC Championship Preview Show.
And we have everything that you need to know for Friday's big game.
We are also going to look at the new college football playoff format. All this and more coming up right here on BG24 Sports.
It's unfalcon believable coverage that you won't get anywhere else. This is BG24 Sports.
Welcome to BG24 Sports. I'm Katie Warnke.
And I'm Terry Lash.
We are joined here by reporters Matt Heidkamp and Toby Fleming, and we are going to talk some football. It's the MAC Championship game on Friday. We're going to go ahead right into it and talk about the quarterback situation. Against Toledo, we saw Cody Callaway come in and James Kanapke. Dino Babers put in Callaway later in the game because Kanapke was not performing to what his expectations were. Who was going to start on Friday, guys?
Well, I think all questions were answered on Friday's game against Ball State. It will be James Kanapke leading the charge for the Falcons. Even though he did not perform well on Friday against the Cardinals, I still think showing that they're not willing just to switch to Cody Callaway right away like they did in Toledo, he's got the reins, he's got the position, is going to be James Kanapke's show.
I have to agree with you there, Terry. It will be James Kanapke. Unless we see something absolutely terrible, he will play the whole game. But the thing is, he needs to throw the ball downfield. I think that'll be a statement right away early in the game.
I think the thing, though, with Cody Callaway coming into that Toledo game, Cody Callaway threw for 96 yards against Toledo, while James Kanapke just had 71. No interceptions. Callaway had one touchdown. I think setting that precedent that Dino Babers said, hey, you know, if James Kanapke isn't going to do what we need him to do, we'll put in Callaway. I think that says magnitudes about Dino Babers' coaching philosophy.
But I also don't think that Callaway has shown us enough. We've barely seen him play at all. It was just that little bit against Toledo and here again and a couple of other games. I think if Babers was going to play him, we would have seen him in Ball State.
Well, I think that begs the question, at what point do you consider Callaway at halftime? You're down by 3 touchdowns. Do you go with the freshman and try to give him some more experience? Do you think he gives you the best chance? It's really up in the air.
Absolutely, but in order to be a great quarterback, you need great receivers. And Roger Lewis and Ronnie Moore have been those strong receivers for the Falcons.
Yeah, let's just talk about Ronnie Moore for a little bit. 3rd in the team in receptions, 2nd, tied for 1st actually in the team with 5 touchdowns this year. He's an absolute X factor. We saw it in last year's MAC championship game. It was kind of Ronnie Moore's coming out party, and he absolutely destroyed this same Northern Illinois Husky defense. I think they're going to have to get Ronnie Moore out into space, get him some screen passes, get him in the middle of the field, one-on-one with defenders. I think he's going to shake him off every time. He's a key player that the Falcons are going to need to show up on Friday.
Of course, you got to look at Roger Lewis. He is your big threat wide receiver. He leads the team in receptions. He leads the team in yards, nearly 1,000. He also has 5 touchdowns. He has proven throughout the year that he is your go-to receiver in the big moments.
I think one guy that we're overlooking, though, is Ryan Burbrink. Ryan Burbrink is 2nd on the team in catches. And oftentimes we don't think of Ryan Burbrink because we look to Ronnie Moore and Roger Lewis for those big plays. But Ryan Burbrink is one of those guys that can get you down the field.
He's also the leader. He's the elder. He's the senior. He is the one that they're going to look for the leadership role.
Definitely. He's a guy that's been there before. Last year, you mentioned Roger Lewis, but he's a true freshman. He hasn't been in this situation. Burbrink has been on that stage, and he's performed at Ford Field, and they did so well last year, and you know that those jitters just won't be there like they could be for Roger Lewis.
Absolutely. Ronnie Moore, too. We have seen a lot. We've seen him on kickoff returns. We have seen him for just a lot of different types of plays.
What do you think is the best thing that Roger Lewis is going to bring to this game, Toby?
I'm not quite sure, but I just hope that we're going to see a similar performance as last year. He was very strong, and I just hope that we're going to surprise NIU like we did last year. No one expected us to win. This year, we have the 7-5 record. They have the 10-2 record. I just don't think that anyone has us on the page as the winning team, and I just think that that's our big asset that we can count on, that they do not
that upset factor.
Yes. Yeah, they've been there before. We saw it last year, so they definitely have the experience, some of those players, but it just is a whole new team. Let's see if they can bring that same fortitude that they brought to Detroit last year.
Absolutely. It will be very interesting to find out. Now, when we come back after break, we are actually going to go into the rushing side of things, so stay with us. Welcome back. We're going to take it to the other side of things now offensively in the rushing area. Now, Dino Babers earlier today said that we may have Fred Coppett and Travis Green playing together in this game on Friday. Remember, Travis Green was a little banged up against Ball State, so we may see them together.
I'm going to stop you right there. I don't buy this for a second that Travis Green will not be on Ford Field on Friday night. Travis Green was the heart and soul of this team last year in that MAC championship game. He was outstanding. He's a player that the Falcons need to rely on. They got him back against Ball State. His first carry went 75 yards for a touchdown. His first carry back in 3 weeks. You know he's going to be out there. This is maybe the last game of his junior campaign if they don't win. He needs to be on the field. The Falcons need Travis Green.
I have to agree with you 100%, Terry. He had a huge game against Ball State. If they have any expectation to compete at all against Northern Illinois, they need him to play, and they need him and the other running backs to have good games.
I have to agree with that, but also, you know, even if he doesn't play that great, we also have Fred Coppett and Andrew Givens that we can count on. For example, Givens against Kent State, huge game, more than 150 yards rushing. You know, those are just guys that can step up to the plate when they need it.
Absolutely, and looking at Givens too, he has 8 touchdowns on the season so far, averaging about 39.5 yards per game, which doesn't seem like a lot, but when you add those touchdowns in there, that is one of those guys you can go to. We've seen him have really short, maybe 2-3 yard runs into the end zone for that touchdown, but he can power through. And if we don't have Travis Green, maybe it'll be more of a passing game this time, and then we can rely on Fred Coppett and Andre Givens to get the rest of the work done.
Yeah, like you said about Givens, he is second on the team in rushing touchdowns. So even though he is third on that roster, you cannot discount him at all.
Honestly, I'm going to disagree. I'm discounting him. At this point, I'm going out and discounting. Yes, I am. I think if Travis Green doesn't play, stay with me now. If Travis Green doesn't play, we are going to see the Fred Coppett show. What we saw when there was no Coppett, when there was no Green, there was just Givens. I think we'll just see with Fred Coppett. We saw him explode this on Friday against Ball State as well. In his sophomore campaign, he's done a great job this season. I think Fred Coppett will get the majority of the carries. I think he's a more dangerous rusher against this Northern Illinois team. He can get you on the perimeters. He has that speed, said to be the fastest player on the team. Andre Givens just doesn't have that X factor that Fred Coppett is bringing to the table.
But I don't think you can count out Andre Givens if
out.
there is no Travis Green. If there is no Travis Green, there's no Andre Givens?
Goal line situations.
Yeah?
I'll give him goal line situations because he's a bigger back and he's produced down there. But for the majority, if there's a Travis Green, no, not at all. If there isn't, I just don't see them taking Coppett out in those key situations.
I can agree that if there is a Travis Green, there will be no Andre Givens, because against Ball State, where was Andre Givens?
One carry.
Yeah, and to disagree a little bit with what you're saying there, Terry, and you're right, this does depend if Travis Green does play or not, but you don't see a college football team without 2 running backs. You just don't see it. You need a 2 running back system. So if Green is hurt, I think we will see a lot of Givens along with Coppett.
What do you think
what do you
Coppett's
got?
going to bring to the table?
Are you on this Travis Green side or Andre Givens side?
I just think if Green doesn't play, or I just think we have great depth at the running back position that it won't be that much of an issue for our team to be able to compete.
So I think we should just switch spots here, Terry, because I'm totally agreeing with Toby over here, and you can just sit next to Matt.
I'm willing to go on my own island and just sit with Fred Coppett. I'll name it Coppett Island, and I'll sit there by myself, and I'll watch him rush for 5 touchdowns.
Oh, you know what? We'll see what happens on Friday, though. I guess time will tell, right?
We'll absolutely.
We'll find out. We're going to go ahead to break here. When we come back, we'll look at the defensive things and how the Falcons can stop the rushing game of NIU. Stay with us. Welcome back. Now we're going to look at the defensive side of things. Northern Illinois, we've seen, is a very heavy rushing team. They have Drew Hare and Cameron Stingley, both large components to that rushing offense for NIU. And we have seen Bowling Green. They've sort of struggled against highly offensive rushing teams in Western Michigan and Toledo with Kareem Hunt. How do they stop NIU?
It's going to be really hard, Katie, and I think what Cameron Stingley brings to the table is very similar than what we've seen with other backs this year. We saw with Jawan Edwards on Friday, a big boy back, 230 pounds, and he just, over the course of the game, just ran over our defenders. They just couldn't keep with him over the course of that game. So I think it's really important for the Falcons to really limit right away Cameron Stingley, try to get him out of the game plan. As far as Drew Hare goes, he's a quarterback, but they saw Jordan Lynch last year. They saw a potential Heisman winner last year, and they subdued him. They did a wonderful job. A whole new defense this year, but there's still a lot of senior experience on that defensive core. So as long as they stop the rushing attack from Drew Hare, which is nothing compared to what they saw last year, stop Cameron Stingley early on in the game, force Hare to throw the football, I think that's where the Falcons defense will have success.
I wouldn't say nothing like it was last year. I'm not comparing Hare, but to the Heisman candidate. But Hare does lead that team in rushing yards. That is a major component of that offense. So I think that needs to be the focus of Bowling Green's defense, is to slow him down, not only throwing but running the ball as well.
Toby?
I'm gonna have to agree with Matt, but also, we missed a lot of tackles in the beginning of the season, and we've gotten better at that. So the key to the game is if we tackle them early enough, then I think we're going to be good.
And if we look at those tackles, Gabe Martin leads the team with 100 tackles. He also has how many forced fumbles?
I believe 5.
Terry, 5, yes. And then Nick Johnson has 5 interceptions along with the defense. So that is sort of a wider, more spread out defense now than we saw in the beginning of the season. But they need to stop that run game we saw with Toledo. We'll look at Kareem Hunt, who ran all over Bowling Green's defense, a 91-yard touchdown run. Yeah. If they can't stop the run, then they cannot stop NIU.
I think the biggest problem with the Falcons' defense is just over the course of the game, they get worn down. They did great against Jawan Edwards in the first half. They really limited him, but then they get to the second half, and this is Stingley is just like Edwards. It's a big back that's going to wear a team down over the course of a game. You have to have, that's where the offense comes in. They put some points on the board, forcing the other team to throw the football. So it's a hand-in-hand type of system here that the defense needs help with. But I think if you have one guy, Gabe Martin's the guy that's going to stop this offense attack from the Huskies, because he's just been an all-everything linebacker for Bowling Green this year.
Yeah, you need to make Hare throw the football, and he only has 1 interception the entire year. He doesn't turn the ball over a lot, so you need to put some pressure on him and force it so maybe Nick Johnson can make an interception play.
I think that 1 interception really says a lot as to how much this team runs the ball. We cannot stress that enough. Yep. But Brian Sutton has 3 forced fumbles on the year too, so we can look to some of these other guys to sort of pick up that Bowling Green defense and try and stop that run.
Yeah, Nick Johnson this year has been absolutely phenomenal in pass coverage. 5 interceptions on the year, leads all true freshmen in the entire country. And Clint Stevens with 3 on the year as well. He's top 5 as well as true freshman in the country. So if they do drop back to pass, if they do get behind a little bit, if Kanapke and the rest of the receivers get going, that's something I'd really like to see those freshman cornerbacks really get at it.
Absolutely.
You need time of possession. That's the thing. Bowling Green's offense needs to have that time of possession, because that will maybe force them to maybe have to throw the ball a little bit more.
Hopefully this warmer climate will let them hold on to that ball offensively a little more. Maybe Kanapke can complete some more passes to Lewis and Moore. With that warmer temperature, their hands won't get so cold, they won't freeze up, so they can sort of complete more passes and spend more time on the field so they don't have to rely on that defense so heavily.
And of course, spending time on the field for Bowling Green means converting first downs, because we all know how fast they like to move. They're just absolutely fast, so that means converting first downs.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier, it's about keeping Northern Illinois' offense off of the field. We talked about how dangerous they are multiple times throughout this program, what Hare brings to the table, what Stingley brings to the table. If they're on the sideline, they don't bring anything to the table. They are tableless. So as long as we keep our offense on the field and keep their drives to a minimum and try to get as many 3-and-outs as possible, Falcons will be in good shape.
I agree. Toby, you think it's the offense's job or the defense's job?
I think it's going to be defense is going to be key. If we stop their rushing offense, then, make them throw the ball, and we're going to be have more possession than them, then it's going to be okay.
I think that is what it will all come down to, is time of possession. But moving on, after the break, we are going to talk about the college football playoff system, the new college football playoff system this year, and we'll tell you what our thoughts on that are. Stay with us. All right, welcome back. Now we're going to veer away from the MAC championship playoff game, and we're going to talk about the new college football playoff system. It's 4 teams that are picked by a selection committee made up of 13 people. My only thing with this new system is that half of those people on that committee have affiliations with the SEC, the Big 10, the Big 12, all power conferences. So it eliminates any opportunity for smaller conferences to get in there.
Well, I don't think any smaller conferences have any right to be in there, especially this year. No smaller conference team has shown the ability to compete with these Big Ten and SEC type schools.
Yeah, it's really a sad state of affairs. The group of 5 really has not put anyone out. Marshall was their lone shot, and Marshall got beat 67-66. That wasn't a basketball game. That was a football game in overtime between the Hilltoppers and the Marshall Thundering Herd. That was kind of the last shot. But even throughout the season, when Marshall was undefeated, 11-0, they still were not getting into the top 25, not the top 4, the top 25 of the college football power rankings. So it's true. I think as we go forward, as we've seen the simulation of some of those small schools that were in the Mountain West, the Utahs of the world, they went to the Pac-12. TCU went to the Big 12. Boise State's like the last remaining one. They're still in the Mountain West. I fully expect them to be in a Power 5 school. It really has switched to you have to be a part of the Power 5 or you're a part of nothing anymore. You need that if you want to get in the top 4.
Yeah, I love this new college football system. I do. I think it's great. The only problem I have with it, I think it needs to be bigger. I think it needs to be 8 teams. 8 teams, and then we'll know for sure who the true champion is. 4 teams, 1 or 2 schools might get left out that deserve to be in there.
I can agree with that, but aren't you guys tired of seeing the Alabamas and the Auburns year after year after year fighting for that national title?
Absolutely not.
No?
I love it.
Not at all?
I loved watching the Iron Bowl.
I'm not saying that I'm a fan of it, but it's just the right decision. They are the best conference in college football. They are the best teams. That doesn't mean that the team can't beat them. Florida State won last season, so we can see either a Florida State or a TCU maybe pull an upset.
The only thing I'm scared about, as we've seen with Florida State so far, still undefeated, the lone remaining undefeated team in the country. No, they haven't looked that great this season, but don't wins still mean victories? That's all that matters, is that you score more points than your opponent does, but it's style points now. It really does matter, not just that you beat the team, but you beat them by 5 touchdowns, and then it gets to a slippery slope, as we've seen Florida State all the way down to 3 behind Alabama and Oregon. What really constitutes a better team, the team that is undefeated to a team that has losses?
I think you need to look at that strength of schedule, though. Who has Florida State really played outside of the ACC? When you get into Alabama, the SEC, they play very tough schools throughout the entire season.
Well, that's my problem with the SEC. They say they play tough schools because they play SEC teams. True in one aspect, but who's grading them because they just play each other. So, of course, they're going to be considered tough if you just say they play tough teams. But when we saw last year, Alabama lost to Oklahoma in the Sugar Bowl. We saw Florida State beat Auburn in the national championship. It may not be the same SEC teams that we saw just dominating 5 years ago. That's why I love the college football system now. We have a chance to finally prove if they really are superior.
There's so many factors taken into what the committee has to decide. Not only, like you said, strength of schedule, but like who you lost to. Head-to-head matchup when you look at TCU or Baylor. And then injuries. J.T. Barrett being out for Ohio State, I think that puts a huge impact on whether the committee decides whether or not if they do beat Wisconsin, to put them in the top 4.
I kind of want to get back to what Katie asked earlier. When you say, aren't you tired of the Alabamas and the Auburns, which school would you propose should be up there?
I mean, anybody but the Alabamas and the Auburns, I guess. I mean, I do understand that they do have the stronger schedule, and they do have that recruitment that can make them one of the top colleges, football colleges in the nation. But no one else gets a chance to take over that spot, and I just don't think that that's fair.
Yeah, well, I think that's what the college football playoffs is all about, is making it fair. Now we finally have that opportunity.
Absolutely. I guess, again, with the MAC championship, we'll find out how this works later in the season. Now, when we come back, we're going to have our final predictions for the MAC championship game. Who's going to take it? We'll let you know what we think. Stay with us. And welcome back. We have been talking about it all show. Who is going to win this MAC championship game, Northern Illinois or Bowling Green?
It's going to be Northern Illinois, Katie. 35-21. I think Bowling Green will compete and keep close all game, but fourth quarter, that talented offense will wear out BG's defense, and Northern Illinois will take the victory.
All right.
I'm going with Matt. I think he's right. 42-20. I think the Falcons start fast, but fade throughout the course of the game, and too much Cameron Stingley for the Falcon defense to contain.
I actually cannot agree with my two guys over there. I'm going to pull for the Falcons. It's going to be 45-44.
Wow,
Ooh.
a close
Oh,
one,
wow.
Toby.
High score.
Ryan Burbank touchdown with 10 seconds left.
In the fourth quarter?
Bold
So wait,
prediction.
wow. You know what? If that's right, then you can just take all of our jobs here.
Yeah, you get a bounce back for sure.
All right, guys, my prediction, 52-33.
Who?
We'll go with that. 52
Wait,
to
who?
33.
Who do we got?
Northern Illinois.
Oh,
You
okay,
cannot
okay.
stop Cameron Stingling and Drew Hare. That is not going to happen. Bowling Green, they'll get some offense going, but you're not going to stop those two
But
guys.
I think it's
for
funny
NIU.
because last year no one picked the Falcons either.
That's very true.
That's true.
I did.
That is true.
Toby did.
Toby did.
Besides
Have it
Toby.
on record. Toby picked the Falcons
Toby
to win the
always
MAC
picks the
championship
Falcons.
game.
Of course.
All right, well, thank you, two, for joining us today. It was a fun show to talk about this MAC championship game. That game is Friday at 7 at Ford Field. Be sure to get your tickets and be there. We'll be there.
Oh,
We hope
we'll
to
be
see
there.
you too. Thanks for joining us. That is all for BG24 Sports today. Check us out on Twitter at BG24 Sports Now.
And like our Facebook page at BG24 Sports. I'm Terry Lash.
And I'm Katie Wernke. Thanks for joining us.